really exciting for me to see you all here today. It's our 7th conference, and it's getting bigger and bigger, and it's just amazing. And I was thinking yesterday about this. When I just started Feedvisor, I was speaking with sellers, with a lot of different sellers, and then what turned out is people were thinking about their business, and that about 20% of their business is something that is kind of common to all, and about 80% is unique to them. And over those conversations, what turned out was exactly the opposite. It turned out that about 80% of your business is common to you, to all of you. And about 20% is where your competitive advantage lies. So this brought us to start these events, because we want to help you to actually master this 80% in the perfect way, so you can focus on this 20% that really makes you different. That's super critical, that's super important. And I'm now going to talk about this in depth. And the second thing is, I started Feedvisor exactly like you. I spoke yesterday with some people, and people very often, when they start companies, they feel alone. They work at their home, sometimes with kind of virtual assistants, sometimes they have a small team, sometimes they have a bigger teams. But it's very lonely feeling. And it's so important for all of us to be part of the community, to meet with others, to talk, to share your thought. Many of the problems that you're trying to solve, this is a common problems. This is type of problems that everyone else solves. And there are some things that are extremely unique to you, and keep those secret. But this is only 20%. Keep this in mind. Okay, so let's start. When we think about the marketplaces, what's the most striking about this is it's a huge business. And it's not only that it's huge business and rapidly growing, but the very fact is that the third-party marketplaces represent about 100 billion worth of GMV. Now, remember what Gilad said, 500 million sits here, 0.5%. Not a small number, 0.5%. And this is you. So $100 billion worth of GMV, what this number means? It has two meanings. First, it's about a third of the overall GMV that comes through the marketplaces. First, and the third party. So third party represents about a third of those transactions. Huge. But even more striking is it represents 29% of the entire e-commerce. And then you guys in the same business as the largest company, Best Buy, Target, they're all there. And the 29% of that business goes over the marketplaces. And it grows 30% year over year. And the classic e-commerce business grows way slower. That's amazing. And then Gilad mentioned this before. And this is something that we have witnessed. And this is something that is make this world completely unique in its opportunity. There is a massive transfer of wealth from retailers to sellers, from the large established enterprise businesses to you. And this is for you to capture this opportunity. And this is why we have these conferences. We will help you to capture this opportunity, to really grow it into a huge business. So you would think about this for a moment, and we say, okay, so Amazon is growing. Let's put things into context. It's a big change. I would say a paradigm shift that happens in the industry. And the shift is going from the more established, what's called the pipeline enterprise businesses that go and sell directly to consumers, to marketplaces. And it happens all around. You think about this, taxis, now it's Uber, now it's people that using this platform to provide services. Airbnb, who stays in the hotels anymore? I mean, we stay in Hilton, but it's good for the conference. Airbnb didn't get there yet. But when you're going to a town, you would stay in the hotel or you would go to an apartment. And then most of those businesses, they didn't exist 6 years ago. And this represents the change. But Amazon did exist. And Amazon is basically taking the market. And this is the most exciting thing that we ever seen. I mean, I never saw such a phenomenon happening. First of all, 25% of the US householders are prime holders. Think about this for a minute. This is not just 25%. This is the 25% that buy often. There is a lot of other percentages that really don't buy as often. So the number is way higher. 50% of the US e-commerce and 25% of the entire US retail growth goes to Amazon. This is a huge wave. This is really a huge wave, and this is a huge opportunity for you. And the reason it happens, or one of the reasons, or the primary reasons it happens, is because of the thing that all of you using every day, FBA. The fulfillment network that Amazon has created enabled it to deliver products at a speed and quality which is unparalleled. And as a result of that, no one else can compete with this delivery system. Not Walmart, not Best Buy, not anyone else. It's the best delivery system. And it combined with the Prime subscription. And what's most amazing, this whole thing of the fulfillment network on one side, of the Prime subscribers that going and buy all this traffic, it's now given to you. This is the services that Amazon leased to you in the marketplace. Now you competitively positioned stronger than traditional online retailers because they simply cannot deliver the same experience. They can't. Whatever it will take them, they can't. And they will not be able to build such a network, such a fulfillment network at any time soon. That's your opportunity. It's really, really a huge wave. And it's a one-in-a-lifetime opportunity because it doesn't happen every time. And this is exactly visualizes what I have been talking about. You look at the value of these public companies in the retail space. Over 10 years, look what happened. Everyone lost value. And where did value go? It go to Amazon. It grew 2,000%. 2,000% over the last 10 years. I hope you bought a stock of Amazon 10 years ago. It's amazing. And this really shows that transfer of wealth I've been talking about before. This is the indicator. There's nothing more as visualizing as this. And you have the power to ride this wave because this marketplace is given to you. So it's basically up to you to win. It's not a question of you need to fight the environment. You need to fight the market trends. The market trends go in your direction. But it's up to you how to win them. That's really important. And then one thing I wanted to actually ask you is, we're speaking about the growth of the business. And I know there's some people here in this room had amazing year. Amazing year. And I really wanted to ask people who at least doubled their business last year to raise their hand. Look around. Look around. It's possible. It's possible. And this is something that you need to be after. And this is something I'm going to talk about today. So to sum it up, there's a huge opportunity out there. You see, it's doable. You just need to know how to approach it and have the discipline to execute. So let's talk about this. What it really means to double the business. What it means to triple the business. First, you need to have the solid unit economics. Critical. Number two, the network effect. I'm going to talk about this in a second. Number three, you need to build for scale. Number four, if you want to grow, you need to move ahead with the growth mindset. Number four, you need to think about data, about making data-driven decisions. And the last one is you need to choose the right technology. So let's go into this. Cost structure. Cost structure is the very basis of the unit economics. I don't know how many of you heard the saying, what should I do if I lose money on every transaction? You know the answer? Some people say that you should sell more. You would be surprised. You'll be surprised how many people think this way. How many people get them into this competition on Amazon without thinking they actually will lose the game. And they're trying to sell more. And they're losing. So the discipline around cost structure is super critical. And when I'm saying cost structure, it's not only the cost structure. It's not only what costs to buy the product. It's all the fees. If you're doing some private label business, by the way, how many people are doing highly competitive products, branded products here? Raise their hand. Okay, and how many doing private labels? As a main kind of line of the business. Okay, about half-half. So very interesting. So when you're doing private labels, the cost of advertising, the cost of PPC is no less important. It's part of the cost structure. I spoke with someone this morning, and he said, like, I don't consider advertising as part of my cost structure. I'm doing all the analysis past the advertising. But well, it's real money, right? It's not comes out of somewhere else pocket. And then when you do the P&L, including all of this, are you better or worse? Should you step on the gas or should you work on your cost structure? Very critical. And you need to understand your product portfolio. And this is something that we have been seeing, and we're seeing a lot of accounts. We're working with hundreds and hundreds of largest sellers. And we see a lot of accounts, and most of the accounts represent exactly the same thing. There's a Pareto rule, 20-80. About 20% of the products, usually it's actually less, are responsible for 80% of your sales. You need to know these products. You need to know in terms of profitability, what are your 20 most performing products in terms of profitability. That's very important. If I call you at night, I wake you up, you need to have this answer right away. You need to have tools, you need to have the ability to monitor this every time. It's super critical. So, you figure out the cost structure. Things are good. You're making money on every transaction. So it's now the time to grow. In order to grow, you need to have your winning formula. That's very critical. How you make this business repeatable, that's at the very center of your growth. So this is how Amazon basically approaches it. They have slightly more complex chart. I kind of simplified it a bit. But they basically start with the selection. They work on the customer experience. That helps them with the traffic. Then the traffic brings you, sellers. The sellers bring more selection. It's better customer experience, and then you close the circle. Every one of you, even if you sell on Amazon, it appears like you're one of the many. You need to think, what's your network effect? How are you going to grow? How you make it repeatable? How the fact that you're selling today, or whatever volume you have, how it can contribute you to make even more. Super critical. Scalability. Here comes, Gilad mentioned about the book, about the price wars. And the price wars are a great example of people sometimes taking the life too emotionally. Too emotionally. Am I going to lose the price war? Yes. Sometimes you should lose them. Sometimes you should stop the price wars. We spend hours and hours thinking about how to deal with the price wars in the algorithm, by the way. It's the most interesting phenomenon which exists out there. But it's not only that. Sometimes you're buying the product, and guess what? You made a mistake. It doesn't perform well. And then you need to let it go. And sometimes letting go, getting too connected, too attached to your products, is your biggest enemy. That we have seen it over and over again, and the most successful sellers, they get on stage and they say, don't get attached to your products. Move on. Very critical. You want to lose some battles, but you want to win the war, and sometimes you need to lose these battles. And then you need to think about the foundation of your sustainable growth. You need to think about the processes of infrastructure and the repeatability, as we spoke before. So all of this is very critical, but you also need to have the growth mindset. You need to all the time asking yourself, what really prevents you from growing faster? Even if you're doing well, even if you're doubling your business, but maybe you can do more. Are supplier relationships working well? Do we have the right replenishment process? Do we make decisions in the right way? How about assortment? Do you sell the right assortment? What's your competition? Are you targeting right or the wrong segment? What's your pricing strategy? Are you efficient as a business? Next. Thank you. So the next thing is, we spoke a lot about the operational aspects. We spoke a lot about the strategy. But the most important thing when you're doing it on the day-to-day basis lies in the data. And then, data is not a scientific word. It's not something that you read and everyone talks about data, the big data. No one talks about the small data. It's just getting bigger. But everyone, it's become a buzzword. But in fact, it's the most important thing because data is all you have. You are electronic commerce businesses. Everything that happens there, everything is registered. Nothing is written on paper. There is no old style invoices. It's all there in the computer. And this data can be analyzed. And this data can serve you to make better decisions. This data can be used to understand the competitive trends. This data can be used to understand product contribution. This data can understand channel contribution, the inventory turnover, assortment, pricing efficiency. Everything that there is data. We can take this data. This data comes from orders. This data comes from market. This data comes from inventory. This data comes from various channels. It's all about the very same thing. It's all about the data. And then you can divide it between leading and lagging indicators. So the lagging indicator would be your financial data. It's already there. You can be proud of it, you may not be proud of it, but it's already there. What's happening now, what's going to happen in the future, this is where you need to be smarter. So when we use this slogan of smarter seller, it's not just a slogan. It's actually every seller needs to be smart about the data. That's the number one imperative you have as a seller. And then you need to turn data into being actionable data. And that's the most difficult piece. Because the data out there, and you just look in these graphs again, 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 and it doesn't help you. You need to know what do you do with the data. And it's the very center of the thing that you need to actually change in your business is turn data into actionable data. To get a recommendation, to act on them, to price automatically, to make the replenishment decisions. That's something you need to change in your business. Otherwise, it just wouldn't keep going. So this is the great example, by the way, of a product life cycle. I know it looks a little bit scientific, but it's not. So when you're starting with the product, you would start at the very kind of left side of this. So you do your research, you find the product, it has, I don't know, high buy box. If it's a private label, then it has high search positions. You check the numbers, it's all looks well. There is relatively little competition, and the pricing is just perfect. You see huge margins. You go out there, you buy a ton of these products, and what happens? Everyone does the same. And people who are buying private labels, they shouldn't really think that they isolated in a perfect land. They are not, because people buying exactly knockoffs of the very same product, and they're going after the search, and it's all there. It's just not a buy box, it's just in the search. That's the whole difference. But at the end, when we think about this, what happens, this competition, it drives the buy box price down. And as it drives the buy box price down, the margins become to disappear. And that's the concept of the opportunity zone. That's the amount of products you need to have to sell them within that opportunity zone, because every time, all the life cycle of the product starts good and slowly disappearing. You need to always be in the opportunity zone. So when you're making your replenishment decisions, they're very critical. You need to know how much inventory you should keep at any given point of time, because that's very much linked to that very graph of the product life cycle. That's where you need to be actionable. Not just look at the data. You need to know where it's going. Where are you in this product life cycle? How much time left? And in the end, it's all about technology, because you cannot really go and do it all yourself. You cannot rely on this data. There's too much of the data. There's too much of calculations and comparisons you need to run. And you have more and more and more data. You sell more, there's more market information, and you have less time. You have less time because the market becomes more competitive. And as the market becomes more competitive, you need to act not necessarily faster than competition. You will not be able to act faster than competition. At the end, people will act about the same speed, but you cannot act slower. You cannot act slower, because if this is the benchmark and you act slower, you're consistently missing the opportunity, day after day. You need to be able to capture this data and make these decisions. It must be data-driven decisions. There is no gut feeling. It's pure science. Gut feeling is in finding the product, in doing the search, after you get the data, of course. But once it's running and you're thinking about the replenishment, you think about the pricing, you think about the assortment, it's all data-driven. And the data is there. And you really need to move fast. You need to have a fast and reliable technology that you can move forward with that. And what's the most important is the mindset. And I actually, it's applied everywhere. And I tell Feedvisor employees this all the time. What got you here, whatever you've done in 2016, whatever you've done, whatever good it worked, is not going to take you there. It's not going to make 17 as good. You need to always change. And when you're changing, you need to adapt to the new environment. You need to continuously grow your business. And this look at the data, what brought us to this concept of smarter seller and the concept of algo commerce, is because the commerce is no longer as a field when you make gut-based decisions. It's no more a field for gut feeling. That's almost a science. And this is why we speak about the algo world. And the science is very simple at the end. You get the market information. You get the pricing information about the demand. It's all there. You can see at your orders. You can get Amazon notifications. It's all there. I mean, it's not a secret. Everyone gets it. Not everyone acts on this, but everyone gets it. And the competition, of course. And this comes as a big pile of data. And this data needs to be analyzed. This is where the algorithms play. They run over the data, and they turn data into trends. They see that certain things happening, like the trend I was showing you before. Consistently, the buy was going down. Consistently, there is an opportunity. The consistency is very important. And these trends or insights, that's what drives your decisions. So this is where the actionability of the data comes in. You look at the data, and it's actionable, and you know how to make decisions. You know how to price, you know how to replenish, you know how to choose your inventory. That's very critical components. And this is what drives the growth of the business. It's simple conceptually. It's much more work to make it done, but it's simple conceptually. And to end this, we need to think about the business as a science. Growth is a science. It's not something that someone done and someone else didn't. It's a science and it's a discipline, and it very rarely happens by chance. It is even harder to sustain. But you managed to do it. Thank you very much.